Yes, my name is Bench and welcome back to Smuggler's Cove. It's been a while since we've been here. In fact, it's been since the rail update we haven't been here. You'll remember in the last episode we were looking at these apartments we built them. It's got the combination lock and then there's 2 stories. Very nice. Got the bedroom on top, and we're going to start adding them in with an angled version, which is this version here. You can see we've extended the front out a little bit to include another table. And on the second story, we've pushed things out as well a little bit. The doors still are on the back, they kind of close there. And you got this really nice area here. So we've then gone and added all those sections in. You can see we've got the apartment section here. Now, how many do you ask? Well, there's 30 on that side. We've got another 30 on the other. So that makes it 60. No, sorry. We've got 15 on one side, 15 on the other. That makes it 30. On the other side is 60. And with all 4 corners, that gives us 120 apartments. It's a lot, I admit. And but that's really cool that they've gone in, and it's starting to fill in this area on the outside. You can see coming in from quite far away. You're like, oh, what's these little dots in the distance? And it's actually full-blown apartments, which is really cool. Now, rail update has caused a couple things that we're going to have to update, and it's going to be a bit of a pain, but we have to do it. First things first is these landing pads. Now, I'm not too sure what to do with these ones. Like, aesthetically, they look very good against everything else. You can see how they look here. But we can't use this dock, so we're going to have to replace it with rail docking in some way, shape or form. So whether or not we put rail docking in these sort of stripes, and then if someone has a landing gear that can dock to it, or provide some sort of USD collar that'll let it lock on and kind of bring it in so that it can dock on this landing pad, or should we get rid of the landing pad at all? Now, I'm going to leave it up to you, the community, and the fans of Smuggler's Cove to actually suggest what we should do here, because there's a couple of different things that we need to update, and I'm not too sure exactly what we want to do with it, so let's see what your feedback is and what your ideas are. So we've got these landing pads. We need to put a new rail docking system into it in some way, so either adding in docking different rail spots that you can dock. Maybe we could add in a clamp or a USD on the ground, or that can kind of come up and kind of come through this blue wall. Basically, this is a size ship area we'd be looking at, but do we even just pull this off and just leave this open, that then a ship can kind of fly in with their front nose and dock in here, which could kind of be cool as well. Now, another thing we need to update is our turrets. Now, conveniently, the design for this turret has this sort of aesthetic sort of pivot point, so we'll probably extend that up slightly, and then that could be the pivot point for the top section, which has the twin guns here, as you can see. So we're going to have we should keep a lot of our firepower in it, because a lot of our firing systems, weapon systems, are contained within the barrels, and then a lot of our power and shielding comes from the base. So we should be okay, but we just need to move the computers around. But it's still going to mean that we're going to have to rebuild them to a degree, because it needs to work with the new rail docker and rail basic, or the turret access points, rail, whatever they're called. You'd think I know what they're called, but I'm just having a mind blank. But they'll go in, and at least then that actually does mean that we can use this area contained within, because they're no longer going to be clipping through the base. But it also limits the range of motion that we can get from our turrets, so we might look at ways that we can just give it a bit more space to aim downwards, because we've got ones on the top and ones on the bottom, but we don't really have anything on the side, or I think they'll be fine to get above us fairly easily because they're so spread apart as well. So we're replacing them. We've got the gravity lifts here for our parley chamber. I don't think we'll be replacing these with rails at the moment, because there's just so much logic that's gone into them. It'll be such a pain to pull apart and then rebuild. We could potentially look at it, but it just matters whether optimizing makes sense with everything that we've already added in. Trying to optimize so that there's less logic if there's rails in there, because we still have these small little hangout apartments. You know, we've got the sort of shower area, and then just a little area. I think there's a bed down there. Yeah, there's a bed down there, and then there's just a little room before you head into the parley chamber itself, which always incredibly dark, isn't it? So I think those will stay. But the other big question that I'll leave up to you is our main turbo lift that is here. Now this is the gravity one. You drop all the way through the station down to our big conference room at the bottom. It is quite a drop, and you arrive here, and then you'll be able to walk down through our sort of spider stick thing on top, and then into this room down here. So we can either leave that as a gravity lift and just go between the top floor and the bottom floor, or we can actually look at adding rails into this, and that might mean then that instead of it just being those 2 floors, we actually use it to go through different floors. And instead of then of you having to jump through these different gravity lifts between each floor, you just call up the floor you want to go. Now that could work, and we could build it, but a couple things to note. We're going to have to add in then the rails on these lines, because that's where it is. I don't know if it would be faster than the gravity lift from getting to the top, from the top to the bottom. And obviously there'll be some logic involved as well, just to be able to call the elevator to your floor. But I don't think it'd be too complicated to add. So do we get rid of these floors, gravity lifts that are between each of the floors, and just go with one elevator right down the middle? Or do we keep it as a gravity elevator and just keep working on how we've been doing stuff? Or do we replace these ones with rail elevators and just keep the middle as a gravity lift? Leave your opinion on what we should do is a comment underneath this video, because I'd love to hear your feedback. Now the final thing is where we are now, which is these massive hangers on the interior. You can see we've got the old docks, but that ain't going to work anymore either. So I think I'm going to have to add in a giant crane or something that has a universal dock on it, and kind of when you open the door for docking, it kind of comes out, and then you dock to it, and then it will kind of pull you in and detect how wide you are, and so it kind of positions you to be able to come into the dock, which I think would be really cool. But there's a bit of logic that's going to have to be developed for that, for us to really be able to do that. So we'll have to play around with area triggers and see what we can do. But it means that you just dock exterior. So the universal dock would be on like a double arm that kind of came out when you wanted to enter in, and it's been vacant, and it'll pull you in. But there's a bit more logic to it than that. But that might be the easiest way for these larger ships to be docking, because I think most ships that would want to be docking in here would have that, because it's just too hard to try and work out what's the best position on the floor to add in the basic rail to dock and all kinds of different things. So I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to go about it. And then we still got to consider what we're going to do with the split between the two. So I think that's what we'll have to do with those there. Now these doors out the front, I'm not entirely, I don't think I'm going to make them rails. I think that'd be pretty intense, but at the same time it's a lot of Plex Store to open and close, and it does take some time, and it just doesn't look as good. So whether or not we have it like extend down, because if you look, we've just got windows and stuff here. We don't have any docking down there, so we, in theory, could make it extend downwards, and that'd give us the a bit more control over some stuff. And that'll also prevent us from accidentally zapping this door with your docker. So I think I'm not sure about it just yet. It might improve stuff, or it might make things more difficult. I'm not sure. Maybe leave your opinion in the comments as well. What should we do? Should we keep these as Plex doors, or should we turn them into rail doors and extend them down? I don't think swinging open is the option, but the only other thing would be, like, can we extend them into like a big block on this side? But if you're docking in here, that might be a bit hard, because of the if your end is sticking right against here, what are you going to do? Because the door will close on you. So we might look at different ways there, but yeah, again, leave your comments in the comment section below the video, because I'd love to hear your feedback on all these different options. So we've got a couple different things where we look at, and the final thing we'll look at is we designed this as kind of a crane. Why not? Let's actually make it into a crane that can go, because that's probably the easiest thing out of everything we've talked about to do, is just add this as a crane that can move around, which would be really cool, and all that. So that's it for Smuggler's Cove, a bit of an update on where we're at and what we have to do. It's a lot of work, as you can imagine. It's going to take a little while for us to actually get into it all again. So you can see why it's taken a while for a Smuggler's Cove video to come out. Thank you to all the fans of Smuggler's Cove that have been reminding me, you got to go back, we want to see more. So we're finally seeing more, and we can see just where we're going to take this station, because it is absolutely massive. I've actually had to turn off the specular mapping because it was just too much for to handle in build mode. So we'll see about some performance and optimization. I'll throw this to Schema. You can play around with it as well, as it usually goes. But until next time, my name is Bench, and thanks for watching.